This is BBC One. As you probably noticed, we're having a few technical problems right now, thanks to Mo Edmonds' latest prank going wrong. We're just waiting for Protocol 223 to kick in, and you'll forget all about what happened.
Technical problems, technical faults, temporary faults, they've always been a thing ever since TV started. The more equipment that you use, the more risk you put into your broadcast. New technology is cheap but unreliable sometimes. Maybe different formats are a lot cheaper, and generally just things breaking can contribute to a technical problem actually happening. It's not just tech though, people make mistakes. You could argue that more people make more mistakes, or you could argue that more people means less mistakes because there's more people for that to go through, and then one of them's going to catch it eventually. Usually though, those aren't issues with tech. That's more of something when someone should have done something and didn't, and then they get a grumpy email from Ofcom. For instance, until his death, John Peel was presenting on Radio 1, and he would regularly play the record at the wrong speed.
Oh, I do hate 7-inch singles that play a 33 and a third, I really do, but here is one anyway. Milk and Melancholy, it's called.
It wasn't just him though, he had more of a reputation for it because he was one of the last people on national radio to use vinyl records that were sent in. It actually used to happen all the time in the 60s, 70s and 80s. Radio turned to having CDs, cart machines and mini discs in the 80s and 90s. TV would go similarly, mostly using tape, but it would also have the odd laser disc. In fact, Lifestyle Satellite Jukebox was rather advanced with its laser disc setup. By this time, it was doing what many TV and radio stations were doing in the late 80s and early 1990s, which is using a jukebox to automate playout systems.
Some radio stations have more crackle than pop. That's why on GWR FM we play all our music from compact disc. The latest in sound technology harnessed to make certain you get the best all day.
The jukeboxes are controlled by two computers. One is a mechanical one for actually driving the jukeboxes. The other computer is used to select the music. The jukeboxes are relayed through to the studio from the touch screen which the presenter operates in the studio.
This has all changed now though. Everything's digital and run from a computer. This means that things are not so much hands-on anymore, and things like broadcast centres are created to manage the broadcast side of things while program makers get on with making programs. You'll notice for stuff like in the 80s, when there was a technical problem happen because one of the tape machines broke, that the person would literally just put a fader up and then start talking. That doesn't happen nowadays because it's all automated.
Well, I'm sorry, Star Trek seems to have disappeared into space for just a moment. In the meantime, a little music, and we'll hope to rejoin the programme just as soon as we possibly can.
In the last episode, I mentioned how the Box Plus network was run by a TV company, and it's not just a Box Plus network, it's actually a lot bigger than that. Red Beam Media are a huge broadcasting company, and they are the guys who make TV channels do their thing. They are given instruction from a TV company to schedule programming and gather shows, ads, trailers, and everything that needs to be played out for their channel to broadcast on various different platforms. This includes on-demand programming as well, such as iPlayer or Channel 4 streaming service. They put in those clips that say what's coming up next and those menus that say what's coming up before a show. They also sort out any technical problems that might happen during the day by holding backup recordings and even backup broadcast systems. They send all the programming to the satellite or cable company or Freeview or whatever platform is available. In 2002, the BBC asked the government if it could sell the broadcast centre part of the BBC to a commercial organisation which would be able to run multiple channels from the same place. The government was cool with that, so that bit of the BBC was sold off. A thing that's happened happening regularly these days. Red B now runs various broadcast centres across the country and distributes the output to the transmitters and satellites and multiplexes. In fact, it turns out that these days almost every public service broadcaster and many others in the UK currently rely on Red B for something, so whether that's for airing programmes or on-demand services, streaming, or even production and post-production. If you don't know the difference between production and post-production, by the way, production is when somebody goes out with a camera and post-production is somebody editing it. So yeah, it's handy to have everything under one roof. So handy. What could go wrong? So a funny thing happened in a broadcast centre in London one day. Do you smell that?
Nah, mate, nah.
Yeah, there's a fire! Fire, everyone! Fire! Fire, everybody!
No, there's not.
Fire! Fire!
Oh, God.
The fire suppression system kicked in at 6:25 p.m. Now, here's the science bit. This wasn't done with sprinklers like many might think. That's actually quite old school, and just think of the mess that you'd be making with all that technical equipment being wet. Do you remember in school where you would put the candle in some shallow water and then you would put a jar over the candle and then kind of drunk the water until the fire went out? It drinks the water because the fire wants oxygen. You might know this from the fire triangle. It's called a fire triangle because you need three things, just like a triangle does. So, the oxygen, the heat, and the fuel for a fire, and if you take one of those away, you got no fire. Anyway, that is how Red B's fire suppression system worked. It did that by releasing nitrogen gas, which in turn sucks out all the oxygen in the air, and it extinguishes any naughty fires that may have snuck in. And what they didn't realise was the release of that gas sizzles hard drives. Not because computers are allergic to nitrogen, it's because the hard drives don't respond well to something that happened when that gas gets released, which is called a sonic shockwave. And that's how you cause the biggest technical problem in UK television history. Apparently, they found out it happened in a few places while investigating what happened here. It's a similar concept discovered when people found out that when they played Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation that it crashed their laptops, and that's because that runs on the same frequency as the hard drive. The closest thing I can show you to this in real life happening is this. But you may have seen this before. Or this. Ofcom did an investigation on what exactly happened and how the channels were affected. It's widely known that Channel 4 was affected, but there was a bunch of other stuff that happened as well that's not as well known about. So at 6:25, the fire suppression kicked in. This caused the acoustic wave that fizzled the equipment broadcasting the BBC, Channel 4 and Channel 5 and all their associated channels. BBC switched over instantly to an alternative facility because they're the BBC. Channel 4, E4, More 4, Film 4, 4/7 and 4 music systems were all starting to glitch, and they were fully fucked by 7 p.m. when they fell off air. Channel 5, 5 US and their +1, 5 Select and 5 Star +1 went foot completely. 5 Star was apparently not affected, but an hour later, Channel 5's disaster recovery system started to restore all the services, and they were back on air, but they didn't have live subtitles until the 11th of October. A disaster recovery system is the backup system that contains programming and trails and stuff. Like I said, nothing's on tape or really live so much these days. It's all computer systems and servers. Channel 5's was supplied by Red B. Channel 4's disaster recovery was self-supplied, so it was theirs. That kicked in at 7:51, and some of the services came back on satellite, and throughout the night, the services started coming back on other places. There was a few glitches though, because the wrong episodes of programs went out.
You're watching 4/7.
This is because Channel 4's recovery system was designed in 2013 and there wasn't a full backup of Red B's system, plus it was only meant for temporary use. Not all of the channels were back. 4 Music, Magic and Kerrang were showing the Box, and Box Hits was showing Kiss. They wouldn't fully resolve the problems until November the 17th. Channel 4 admitted that shortly before the incident, they recognised the disaster recovery was prone to issues, and it had started a project to rectify those issues, which is a funny coincidence, but let's not delve into that too much. One show that made reference to the incident was Channel 4's Last Leg. Anyway, there you go. Shorter than normal, but it'll do. A huge shout out to Blue Frog, by the way. He made a channel dedicated to the Red Bee incident. Ident Circle's got a good selection as well, so have a look at them. You can find a link to that in the description of this video. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. I love going through the comments and seeing some of the things that I've missed out and the stuff you're telling me. Someone once thought I was saying Thames Television wrong, the Thames bit.
Thames.
Which still makes me chuckle every time I think about Thames now. The next video will be defunct channels. I'll be checking out 3, maybe more, who knows, 3 channels that don't exist anymore. Having a shorter video also means that I've got time to remind you that if you've not checked it out already, check out the Facebook page. I've actually got one when I bother to update it. Facebook.com/Jonkable, as well as JohnnyRobinson.co.uk, and you can also support what I do here by becoming a member via Patreon or joining on YouTube. And I've also got a Discord server, and you can access that if you are tier 2 team member. We occasionally talk about eggs. It's great. Thanks very much to Joseph Adams, Stephen Bride, Hooter Noodles, Matthew Beckley, Chris Elliott, Samuel Desmond, Tracker John, Manuel Mobius, Kieran Dite, and Mark Jackson. The executive producers are Tim Goodwin and Computer Tom. I've been Johnny Robinson, and I'll still be Johnny Robinson after this video's finished. Thank you, bye.